Eric, what were your overall takeaways?
Yeah, I was really pleased with the completeness of the performance, I suppose. Aside from the way in which we finished the game, there's obvious frustrations there, but I would say that is as close to a complete performance as I think we've had, in the sense that it sort of justifies a lot of what I've been talking about, in that we don't need a huge percentage of possession to be really dangerous, to create a lot of good chances, to really feel like we controlled the game, which was undoubtedly the case for the large majority, bar the inevitable period at the end where they almost have to throw the kitchen sink at it. So yeah, I was really pleased. It was a really nice way for us to round off what has been a very tough week and also send the internationals off in good spirits. And it means that when that group gets back together in a couple of weeks' time, fingers crossed, we've put ourselves in a good position next week. But it means when we get back together, we can really attack the table, which is a big thing.
What's happened to Caden Clark that he had to be scratched before the game?
Yeah, it was an innocuous one that surfaced in training yesterday, and he's just felt over the course of the day that he wasn't in a position to play, or I didn't want to risk him. I think he was probably 50-50. I didn't want to take the chance that we end up losing a sub in the first half, because I knew it would be one of those games where we really needed to make 5 subs as the game went on. So it's unfortunate that it's a set of circumstances that has led to DJ getting injured, because obviously he wasn't due to start, and almost for good reason given his output over the last couple of games. So it's a real shame that set of circumstances is sort of conspired to put us in a really difficult position there, but that is collateral damage of a really tough week, I suppose.
There were little things in front of all of those goals that led to them. Sangbin's deflection on the pressing action, Devin's long throw in, Kervin's overlapping run. Yeah. How much do you kind of notice those things when you're looking at that?
Yeah, we notice the things in a big way, because they're a big part of what we try and do. They sit behind what we do in a very genuine, strategic way. There's a lot that's really, really pleasing about each of those goals that would maybe go unnoticed to those perhaps who haven't watched us an awful lot this year. So I'm pleased that we're starting to see everything that we're trying to add game after game sort of slowly come to fruition. And I would even say that on the back of the 2 games that we've played away this week, there's always been a relatively constructive take. There always feels like there's something that we've added, something that we can build on. And I think in a couple of those moments today, we saw us executing at a really high level.
How do you reward the players, or how do you mention that to the players? Is it in film session? Is it one-on-one with guys, kind of the little things behind it?
Yeah, a combination of both. So we spend a lot of time in the video room, not for long periods of time, but I'm big on making sure that you catch the players doing things well. So when they feel that they've got rewards for a body of work that sits behind an action or a period of play, then I think it's really important they see that. So we tend to take that approach more than constant correction, trying to catch the players doing the things that we want them to do and make sure that they hear about it, which is a big part of my philosophy as a coach, and also what our coaching staff is very good at, very communicative, very open with the players. So I think we're in a really good place in that sense.
Looked like you had the right wing back sort of pushed a little higher up the field than usual tonight. What were you looking for out of that position, even as a number of different guys fell?
Yeah, I mean, we were disappointed with how we were able to execute that at both Colorado and LA. I think to an extent you need a certain amount of control, you need a certain number of passes, you need to be able to be connected well enough as a team in order to get the wing-backs where you want them. And today we were, and you could almost feel that from the opening stages of the game, that we were in our rhythm very quickly, and we found both DJ and Dev in some really good positions, and that continued with Sangbin and then latterly Joe, maybe a touch more conservative with Joe toward the end, but I think generally we were able to really hurt them on the switch of play, which is a big part of what we try and do.
What did you think of Sangbin as the wingback position tonight?
Yeah, I think he tired in the second half, which was almost an inevitability. I think if we'd had our way, he probably wouldn't have gone all the way through today, but I think he was very, very good in the first half, a real threat, and albeit we didn't get him in the second half in the positions that we probably would have expected to. I think that's in part due to the fact that he's not completed many 90 minutes this year, doing something very demanding, playing at wing back. The physical load for those guys is huge, so I think that took its toll, but I know full well had no hesitation in putting him there, because he's a proper team player. You know he's going to be very honest, for want of a better word. He's always going to do his absolute best to do something, albeit it's unfamiliar for him, and I think rarely did he find himself wanting in that position, which is testament to how versatile and how willing he is, I suppose.
Mi pregunta es en español, no sé si estaría bien.
Sí.
Perfecto. Se habla de que cuando un entrenador llega a un equipo, en el aspecto táctico, la adaptación tarda en que los jugadores asimilen lo que tácticamente el entrenador quiere hacer. En este caso, sus jugadores no han batallado, no se les ha hecho difícil esta adaptación. ¿A qué se debe?
Es difícil, no es tan fácil en ese sentido. Pero lo que hace la diferencia para mí es que estamos trabajando con las fortalezas de los jugadores siempre, y es mi filosofía de comenzar con las fortalezas y diseñar el sistema y la manera de jugar desde ese base, y eso hace el trabajo mucho más fácil, y para mí los jugadores sienten eso en el campo. No estoy preguntando a ellos hacer alguna cosa que no es confortable para ellos, y eso es mi filosofía, y hasta ese punto trabaja, pero no es un proceso fácil. Para mí siempre hay dificultades, y cuesta cada día de desarrollar un estilo y desarrollar los jugadores.
Real quick, if you wouldn't mind, just a brief synopsis of the question and the response, just for non-Spanish.
Yeah. So what is it hasn't he sort of asked? It hasn't seemed as though the group has struggled to adapt to what I've asked of them. He said that's typical of a coach's first interactions with players, but in this case, it hasn't seemed to be the case. My take is that it is probably more difficult than it seemed on the eye, and we're always picking up things that are difficult for the players and difficult for us to develop and keep at a certain level. But in general, I think a part of what's helped is that we're always starting with the players' strengths. We're trying to make sure that the way in which we position them, the way in which we try and connect them, has at the heart of it what they do well, and I think that makes life far easier. So that's, I said, big part of my philosophy, big part of how we want to work, and I hope that the players have felt that so far.
Coming into this league, what do you make of Johnny Russell? You've seen him here twice now, and he has a tendency to, it's inevitable that he scores typically. But coming in, what do you think about?
Yeah, I actually think they've got a very good set of front players. I think it's unquestionable there, of which he is one, and it appears to me that they will inevitably come good because they have a lot of quality at the top of the pitch. I remember prior to the first game here, we did a really big piece on how we would stop their individual forwards, of which Johnny Russell is one. I think in some senses he's a very good player at this league, but he will score goals in largely the same way. He will create often in the same way. So we obviously have a very specific plan as to how we will deal with him. But of course, very good player, very good in front of goal. So it's not always as easy as it might seem on a PowerPoint presentation to the players, unfortunately.
You talked about it being a complete performance. In the first half, it looked like it was kind of lacking a little bit. Did you feel like you needed to kind of get on them to kind of realize the fact that you talked about yesterday, the psychology of coming in against the last place team?
Yeah, I don't think we blew anyone away in the first half, but I think if you knew full well what we were trying to do, you felt like we were executing the plan to a good level, and to an extent it would only be us that could cost us the game in that sense. So I wanted to make sure that after we went one ahead and the game went on, that we didn't become too passive with the ball. We didn't stop attacking. We continued to try and take the space in behind when they gave it to us, and I think in the second half we started relatively well, and I don't think for too long a period looked passive, which is a big thing for us. So I would say, albeit not a spectacular performance, it was a very controlled, disciplined, and detailed performance, which is really what we needed today.
Was there any more necessity put on this one, given the fact that you have 8 internationals away next week?
I think so. It was really important that I felt that we left the group, that as it was splitting up, in a good place, and that we will certainly do what we can next week with a group of very hungry players. But obviously it's a testing set of circumstances. I don't know what position Dallas are in. I'm not sure what position other sides are in the league, but I know we'll obviously feel those absences. But I think I'll always take these as an opportunity to take the silver lining, and hopefully there's a couple of players that really benefit from those others being away and increase game time, and hopefully our squad is stronger for that. So yeah, we've obviously given ourselves a bit of breathing space with a good result today, which is a big thing. But I'm genuinely excited about how we shape up next week and see what we can produce.
Any more? All right. Thank you, Coach.
Thanks, guys. See you.